What's happening, everyone, and welcome to the club. It's time for my favourite part of the week. It is time for our call-in show. It's Adam McKola and myself, and we're going to get into everything that you have to say. Remember, this is your opportunity to get involved in the club. We love talking to you. We really do want to hear from you. So if you want to get involved into the call-in show, just make sure that you join our Discord group and send us your hot take, your debates, your voice notes. You can find out all the information in the description below. Adam McKola, how are you?
I'm looking forward to this.
I love it.
Again, I know we say it every week, but this is fastly becoming one of my favourite parts of the week, doing this, chatting to everyone. We're having far too many Liverpool fans at the moment.
Mate, it's Liverpool dominating at the moment. They've got a real spring in their step.
They're
And
all
annoyingly,
happy, innit?
they're right though, aren't they?
I hate it.
They're right.
They're right to be happy and they're right to be excited. I mean, a team that's won the league and is now improving on what they've got, whether you agree or disagree with transfer fees and stuff, that's beside the point. They're a team that are at a very good high at the moment. They're adding to it.
They're fixing the roof when the sun is shining. Should we go into the calls? And no doubt we'll speak to a Liverpool fan who's going to tell us why they're going to win the league. Should we see who's first?
Yeah, let's see who's first. And I've had a little hint about what Luca wants to talk about. And I'm going to say, you're going to hate him.
Oh, really?
Okay. You're going to hate him.
Okay, right. Let's go straight to the lines, and we're going to speak to Luca. Luca, sir, you are live on the club. What's on your mind?
Chelsea fan, right?
Yeah, I'm a Chelsea fan.
Luca, how you doing?
I'm good. And you're right, Rory is going to hate this.
Yeah, so speak up as well, because you're coming through a little bit quietly for me.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to speak with your chest on this one, as they say. Luca, take it away.
Yeah, basically, I think Jose's whole career has been wildly overrated.
This is the problem. This is the problem with the Cooley show. It's too democratic. We're giving a voice to everybody. Luca, if I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, which is very unlike me. I never give anyone the benefit of the doubt. I usually just doubt everybody. But for you, I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to, for the first time in my life, give you the benefit of the doubt. Why on earth are you saying this? Justify it to me, please.
So there's a lot of people out there that say he's better than Pep. And he's nowhere near Pep Guardiola. Jose's obviously a good manager.
But if you could disagree with him being close to Pep and still not go as far as to say he's incredibly overrated. Both things can be true, right?
No, people say he's a GOAT. People say he's like top level. And that is close. He's not close to Pep.
Pep couldn't do what he did with Porto.
Well, this is. I knew someone would say that, and that is what I want to massively disagree with.
Why?
So, winning the Portuguese league with Porto is not wild.
But he never just won the Portuguese league.
That's not what Adam's talking about.
Yeah, he didn't just win the Portuguese league. He won the UEFA Cup and then followed it up with the Champions League.
Right, so UEFA Cup, obviously not as great as the Champions League. And Porto are a level of club that they should be in the Champions League. And then the Champions League, right, let's get on to this Champions League with Porto. He finished second in the group. In the round of 16, he played a sort of not vintage Man United side, and also a Man United side that should have won that tie. They had a goal disallowed, wrongly disallowed.
Yeah, Scholes was onside, Miles onside.
So with good officiating, well, not even good officiating, just competent officiating, Porto were out at the round of 16. They then played Lyon in the quarterfinal. They then played Deportivo Coruna in the semis.
Deportivo, a very good side.
What point are you making, though? What does it mean? Okay, you're telling us the fixtures, but so what?
Yeah. My point, for a semi-final of the Champions League, you would bite your hand off to play Deportivo. And then
let me just get this straight, though. Deportivo La Coruña at that time.
They were in the semi-final for a reason.
They were a fantastic team. They had the likes of Diego Tristan, Walter Pandiani. They were a team with a lot of solid players in there.
They were a semi-final Champions League team.
Yeah. They're not the Deportivo that they are now.
Yeah, I know they were much better back then. But to win a Champions League and you're not playing Barca, you're not playing Real Madrid, you're not playing Bayern Munich, you're not playing any of the top Italian teams, you're not playing Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea.
But they played Man United. They played Man United. You've just left out Man United, who were a far better team than Liverpool then. But Man United went into that Champions League as champions. They did. They were in the Champions League. The Manchester United 03 won the Premier League. So they were in that Champions League as champions. of
My
England.
point is, I'm not saying it's not an impressive achievement. I'm saying you said Pep couldn't win that with Porto. I'm saying yes, he could if you play those teams.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure Pep gets
Porto.
that team playing. And I know we look back now and we go, well, they had Ricardo Carvalho and they had Deco and they had Benny McCarthy, but Jose made those players kind of what they were, and I don't see Pep being able to do the same.
Also, Pep
and
Guardiola,
then we go on to Inter Milan.
But Pep Guardiola has faltered in the Champions League many times with better teams than the Porto side that we're discussing. Never won a Champions League with Bayern Munich. Got knocked out of the Champions League by who? With Man City before he won it. Got beaten in the final by Chelsea. Got knocked out of the Champions League by Lyon. Got knocked out of the Champions League by Tottenham. Got knocked out of the Champions League by Monaco. And you reckon that that if he were in charge of a team with the qualities of Porto, that he would have just sailed to the Champions League?
If he plays those teams, yeah.
What about the treble?
But they got beat by his Man City team that were better than the Porto team. Got beat by Tottenham.
Yeah, but Jose's also failed with Real Madrid and Chelsea.
Whoa! He didn't. He won the league with Real Madrid at 100 points.
Chelsea's greatest ever manager. Chelsea's greatest ever manager by a distance as well.
I think if Ancelotti had longer, that he would have been Chelsea's greatest ever manager.
And I think if Scolari had won more games, he would have been Chelsea's greatest ever manager. Jose Mourinho, arguably, is the greatest. If you're looking at, say, achievements, not necessarily longevity. As soon as you bring in longevity, the answer is Sir Alex Ferguson. The answer after that is Pep Guardiola. But if you do single season debate in the way that you could say Luis Suarez is the best centre forward the Premier League has ever had in a single season debate, you could actually make the same argument for Fernando Torres. Single season debate. Jose Mourinho is arguably the best manager to have ever lived.
Let's play a game.
Play it.
Name some managers, and we'll see if Luca thinks they're better than Mourinho.
Do you think Jurgen Klopp is better than Mourinho?
Yes.
Do you think Arsene Wenger is better than Mourinho?
I think they're on a similar level. I would give a slight advantage to Jose.
They're not even in the... How?
Do you think...
Every time they came up against one another, Mourinho put 6 past him.
Do you think Antonio Conte is better than Mourinho?
Oh, again, similar level. I think Conte's European record is awful. So I think I'd give that to Jose. But that's who he needs to be compared to. Not Pep and Ferguson.
Pep? But you've said Klopp as well.
Yeah, Klopp won 2 German leagues with Dortmund. Got Liverpool to 3 Champions League finals.
Oh, hold on a minute. But Klopp won the German league with Dortmund.
My brain is sore.
But Mourinho won the Champions League with FC Porto.
Inter, he won a treble with Inter. No Italian teams win.
Pep's team, Inter. Was that Pep's Barca? I remember.
Yeah, it was.
It was when he went away, and he's pointing up at the gods, and he's pointing up at the Inter fans, and he's giving it. Okay. Yeah, mate. I just don't. I
don't even think
very
Pep
rare.
would
I'm
do
speechless.
what Mourinho did at United.
Klopp and Mourinho can't be compared for their legacy. They just can't be compared.
No,
they're just not even. They don't even manage in the same sport.
Jose's had like a blank checkbook at Chelsea and Real Madrid.
And what about Inter and Porto?
His Inter is the best achievement. That is the one that's going to be.
You do realise
that Inter is one of the greatest footballing achievements.
Yeah. What I will say about Inter, though, is people forget Inter won the Italian league 3 years in a row before Jose turns up.
But that's 3 years. 3 years is a long time.
But they didn't win the Champions League, did they? And no Italian side has won a European trophy until Mourinho won another European trophy for an Italian side.
Has another Italian side won the treble?
No Italian side. Do you know when Jose Mourinho won with Inter? The next time an Italian side won European silverware was Mourinho with Roma. They went all of that period, and there was no Italian winner of any European silverware until Mourinho went back and did it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're both disagreeing with you here, Luca. But you have one last chance to make your case before we move on to the next call.
Luca, Chelsea fan. You're sacrilege.
Do you want to take it back, Luca?
Great. I'm not arguing against that.
Sacrilege.
We're amazing.
Do you just want to say, look,
You're going to start telling me Gerard's the best midfielder in a minute?
Absolutely not.
Tell me, just if you want, you got a chance to put your hand up and say, I've had a mare, lads.
No.
You are allowed to do that. Mate, a big man does that. A big man will. Occasionally, you got to do it. You know when I said Erling Haaland wasn't gonna do anything in the league, and then he won a treble and scored 1 billion goals. You hold your hands up. That year, he deserved the Ballon d'Or. Long term, I've been proved correct, but
this
that's
is
another
so
conversation.
Because Lucas knows what happened.
Yeah,
he knows how the story is.
It wasn't a prediction. It wasn't a prediction. He's done it with all the facts. It'd be like me saying now Erling Haaland is going to fail that season.
Erling Haaland's failed, actually. He has failed. Luca, thank you so much for your call. Feel free to call back whenever you want again, whether you've got another topic or you want to apologise.
Never.
I'll rate it.
He's now in Turkey. Pep's still at City.
He's older. Right.
They turned up at Man United City at the same time.
I can't cope.
Luca, thank you so much for your call. Thank you for winding up,
That's
Rory.
one of the most
Great start to the day.
Outrageous. Andy's just like, if that had been, if he'd been a Liverpool fan and he was trying to make the case for Klopp, or a Man City fan, he's making the case for Guardiola, it would make a little bit more sense to me. How has he got so animated as a Chelsea fan, trying to argue that he's not great?
Also, I think if you disagree, like I think some people sometimes go too far in that. When you're comparing two greats,
yeah,
like let's say we're comparing Ronaldo and Messi, and then they go, well, if you say it's Messi, they go, oh, well, you think Ronaldo?
Yeah.
It's like, no, you could. We're arguing about greatness.
But Luca, in that exact example, he clearly doesn't really think that Mourinho is a great, because he thinks that Klopp is better than him. He thinks that he's more comparable to Conte. And I don't think Conte is going to go down in the pantheon of greats.
And he said it himself, Conte's European record stinks.
Wild. Let's go back to the phone lines and hopefully find some sense. Kai, how are you, Kai?
I'm great. How are y'all?
Very well, mate.
Where are you calling from?
Philadelphia, once again.
Oh, Motown Philly's back again.
He's back again. Yeah. Chelsea just got beaten in Philadelphia.
Oh, unlucky.
Yeah, I had friends who went to the game.
They were the only ones.
Yeah.
All three of them.
They doubled the attendance.
Yeah, it's not been great, the Club World Cup. But so I'm here to talk about...
I like it. I don't mind.
No, go on, Kai. What's on your mind here?
Well, I'm here to talk about Florian Vertz and how we're going to set up next season, because I think that's important.
Yeah.
Is this a reaction to me and Rory probably getting it wrong the other day?
What? Because we said about Szoboszlai. Everybody's gone mad about that.
Yeah,
I still think I'm right though,
yeah.
but I might be wrong.
Sabo's gonna stay in the team. I think Florian Vertz has to play left wing. I think it's because I do agree that he would be an upgrade there, but like look at the fullbacks. Kerkez and Frimpong are just gonna fly forward. They both want to run. And who's defending? McAllister's not like a particularly incredible defender. Ryan is also not a particularly good defender. It'll be difficult then for us to like actually defend if we lose the ball, if we don't have Szoboszlai there. So Vertz will play left wing, and if you look at Leverkusen, right, they have like Ruben Amorim, they play like this 3-4-3, and Vertz was on the left there, more inside. So I don't see why we can't replicate that in some way.
Do you not worry then, because you kind of alluded to your defence and Frimpong and Kerkez getting forward and all these kind of things, and then you've kind of just said yourself that you don't feel any of your midfield selection at this moment in time. Szoboszlai you kind of mentioned as the most defensive-minded maybe, although Gravenberch has obviously been playing deeper. So do you fear that you may be a little bit exposed at the back going into next season?
Oh, I think so. If Guehi signs, that would make a lot of sense too for rotation. But I think we still need a 6. I'm one of the few Liverpool fans who's not raving about Ryan as the 6. I think he's a good player, but we need someone who can actually defend there. And he is not much of a defender. He's better when carrying the ball forward. I think if we got someone, even like Adam Wharton would be better there. I would love to get someone like Wharton, or even like Baliba, and like anyone who can actually like defend and break up play.
I think Wharton's going to be the one next summer where I think a whole host of clubs are.
Well, why? And I'm certainly deferring to your superior knowledge here, Kai, because I'm looking at Liverpool from the outside. But why do you not think that Florian Vertz just plays at 10? Like, part of the reason that he signed for Liverpool was because I think he can play in that position. Part of the reason he didn't sign for Bayern Munich, for example, was because they already have Musiala.
I think the problem with the whole Bayern thing, I think what really happened is, imagine they signed Wirtz, right? So now they have Musiala, Elise, Kane, and uh Wirtz, Musiala, Kane, and whatever. None of those people can run in behind. They're not particularly people who would
Yeah, they want the ball to
go
feet.
and like
yeah.
stretch. Yeah, so who is running in behind then? Alphonso Davies. It wouldn't really make sense. Like, how would they even like everyone would end up being in a low block. They wouldn't really score any goals in transition. I don't think that would be a good setup. I think in this situation you could have the striker could be a runner. Szoboszlai likes to run in behind. He's done it with Salah a couple of times. Frimpong and Kirkes do. I think for Wirtz, he has a lot of runners.
So what are you thinking?
Team.
You're thinking that the front line looks like Wirtz on one side, Salah on the other side, and Jota through the middle.
Szoboszlai Jota, or ideally a new striker. Like Isak would be incredible, but I'd even take someone like Osimhen, Ekitike, anyone in that bracket.
So you think Luis Diaz will leave or sit on the bench?
I think I would like for him to stay, but I think he'll leave because he would probably want a contract extension. He would cost a lot of money because he's on virtually nothing a week right now. Like, he's one of our lowest paid players who gets a lot of minutes. So I think it would make sense for him to leave. I'd like him to stay. And he could also be that striker that stretches. He's not a slow player, but I think he'll leave.
Can you do me a favor? Can you list off what you think the 11 would be next season?
So I think Frimpong or Bradley, it'll depend on the game. I think it depends on who, like what
Who's the
opposition.
keeper? Sorry.
I think
Can we just start? Who do you think
Alisson.
is Alisson's again next season?
Alisson.
Right.
Yeah, Mamardashvili is going to be our cup keeper, I think. He's the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup.
Right.
We also signed another keeper, actually. We signed a Hungarian keeper, too. So now we have 3 Hungarians at the club.
Kirali.
Really young
Gabor
Hungarian.
Kirali.
We both do exactly the same nonsense joke. Hungarian goalie. You've got to say the word Kirali.
Yeah.
So you think it'd be Alisson in goal, then depending on what happens, it will be Bradley or Frimpong.
And then it'll be Van Dijk, Konate, Kirkes, McAllister, a new 6, and then Szoboszlai in the 10, and then Wirtz, a new striker, and Salah on the right.
Okay, who
that's what...
at the moment you're saying a new striker based off who you have available? Who are those?
Diaz.
It would be Diaz, and who would be the 6? Gravenberch?
Oh, yeah, it'd have to be Gravenberch because there's no other option.
Okay, interesting. And is that 11 or is that team going to defend the title?
I think that team easily wins the league, to be honest. I'm not really convinced by City or Arsenal next season at all.
I think it's City you've got to worry about, really, isn't it?
I don't know. City's transfer window isn't as incredible as people say. I think Cherokee isn't going to start for them. I don't think he's better than what they have. And Ryan Aït-Nouri, can he really defend? There's a couple of questions I have about
just to
that
get your
team.
thoughts quickly. The Mark Gahey links. When I saw that, I just thought it was a brilliant signing. Yeah, I thought it was a brilliant signing for Liverpool if they get it over the line. Would you like the idea of Gahey joining Liverpool?
So the one worry
Is
I
he
had
better than
about him
Konate?
was no, I don't think he's
not
better
better
than
than Konate,
Konate.
is he?
But I do think he's better at Konate at certain things.
Better on
he's
the
way
ball.
better on the ball.
Okay.
Yeah, way better on the ball. But I think if Frimpong is to his right, there's no way you're starting Gahey. Konate covers all of the space. But I love Gahey. I think he's a little short for a Liverpool center back, but I think it'll be fine.
Gahey's class, man.
But I love him.
I just feel like
he was great at the Euros.
Great to have both options, but I think Konate is better.
I think Gahey's got
And he can
got
play both sides.
He's got
play both sides.
He's also got the skill set of he's very robust and aggressive, but he's also excellent on the ball. I think he'd be a brilliant signing for Liverpool. Thank you very much for your time, Kai. It was great to talk to you again. Always insightful stuff from Kai, so we really do appreciate it. And to everybody listening to this, by the way, remember, Kai has effectively become part of the club. He is an OG because he takes the time to get involved, and we love talking to him. If any of you are watching this and have anything on your mind that you would like to talk to us about, click the link in the description below. The Discord's there, all of the information. And if you do that, you could be talking to us next week, and we would love to hear what you have to say. Reese, in fact, did just that He did exactly what I just said, and he is now live on the club. Reese, how are you, sir?
Good afternoon. How are you all doing?
Very
Great,
well.
thank you,
very well.
Reese. Thank you for calling in.
That's good. That's good to hear, and thank you very much for having me once again. I wanted to talk about the Club World Cup today, if you don't mind,
Oh,
and
lovely.
how I think the Club World Cup is unsurprisingly falling very flat. I think the best way to describe the Club World Cup is FIFA's attempt at grabbing a little bit of extra cash out of fans and very little care for everything else, whether that be the players and their health, their exhaustion, whether it be the fans and how they're meant to schedule the Club World Cup into their summers and so on and so forth.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think it's slightly ironic that we're like not playing our Boxing Day fixtures, our traditional Boxing Day fixtures, and we're kind of pretending that that's done for player welfare when all of the players are currently playing like competitive fixtures in America at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, then you've got crazy scenarios like Manchester United flying out on a post-season tour.
Yeah,
and a couple of teams did it at the end of last season.
Yeah, Tottenham did it last year, didn't they? They did it. Yeah, Tottenham did it at a really weird time last year. I think like the season was it was like 24 hours after.
No,
the
we
season.
flew out the day after Villa game.
Yeah,
It's bizarre. But Reece, I'm someone that kind of wants to give the Club World Cup a chance because I do think it has potential. Like when you look at some of the teams involved and you see like a fixture list which contains Benfica against Boca Juniors, I think that has a certain level of attraction to it. But I do think it's about where do you fit it into the schedule and can you find the perfect time for it? If there was a period where maybe there's no internationals going on so there can be full focus on the Club World Cup, I think it can be a good tournament. And clubs will take it seriously because of the finances involved.
Do you think that there's ever a world where it could genuinely rival the Champions League? So, for example, if you won the Champions League and Chelsea won the Club World Cup, do you think I would be able to say to you, we've won this? We're the world, you're only Europe.
Right now, no. But if clubs take it serious for the next 20, 30 years, then there's possibly a world where that happens.
What, and the European Cup becomes less
Because
prestigious?
the financial rewards for it are close to the Champions League.
No, it is. It is.
Basically
It
Champions
is
League.
that. It's Champions League money, but you earn it in a month rather than in a year.
Yeah, I think it can work. I want Man United to be in it.
Do you want
Genuinely,
it?
I
Do you
would
want
love
it to
Manchester
work?
United
Do
to
you
be in
want? Do you want it to work though, or do you feel like it's just a cash grab? It's all being done for the benefit of FIFA. Like, do you want this to succeed?
I feel like maybe FIFA and the organising bodies and stuff like that are doing it for the same reason they wanted to do the Super League and things like that, to get more money. The same reason the Champions League has been extended and there's so many more fixtures now is to get more money. But I do still think there's a space for Club World Cup. Like being the world champions as a club is huge.
Yeah. Reece here, you've said that the Club World Cup is falling flat. Why do you say that?
I think it's falling flat for a few different reasons. I think the location of where it is this year is a big part of that.
Yeah, if it was in Spain, it'd be very different, wouldn't it? Like everybody, like loads more fans would have gone, and the timings would have been different as well. So, like, obviously, the games can be in the middle of the night and whatever.
Yeah, well, I think for me as well with America, and this isn't an American agenda by any stretch, it's the timing of when it is in America. The MLS is ongoing in America, and the vast majority of people attending these Club World Cup matches are going to be, people based in America. So you've got a lot of fans of all these different MLS teams attempting to, finance the tickets for their own MLS seasonal games, and obviously the Gold Cup as well, which is coming up soon, whereby you're then trying to fit in the Club World Cup as well, and let's be honest, the tickets aren't cheap. The tickets are hundreds of dollars.
They've had a mare with that.
Each and every game. They've had a massive mare with that. I just think America it's the wrong time to have it in America. I think if it was in Europe, as you say, in Spain, that would be huge, because you would get a lot of people traveling to go and attend the Club World Cup. Even if their team isn't necessarily in it.
Do you know what though? You said that it's failing. Do you think that you're looking at it strictly through a English lens? Like, do you think so? For example, a couple of my mates were out there when Chelsea got beat by Flamengo, and if you were a Flamengo fan, you most certainly wouldn't be saying that it's fallen flat. They travelled really well.
Representing well, man.
Yeah, they've travelled really well. They were buzzing when they won. They came from behind. They were like dominant in the ground, loud in the ground, passionate in the ground, and buzzing when they won.
I think he's got a chance of working. I really do.
Do you think UEFA are scared? Like in the battle between FIFA and UEFA, do you think UEFA will be desperate for it to fail, won't they?
No, because does it not make does it not make the carrot? I know the Champions League is also already a massive carrot in terms of, wanting to win it, the prestige that it holds, the worldwide recognition that comes with it, the money, everything that. But if the Club World Cup's strong, then doesn't that make the Champions League stronger? Because
no,
you're playing to qualify.
No, but what it would do is it would be like saying that the Champions. I don't think this will happen, by the way. But what could happen is the Champions League suddenly becomes the Europa League of competitions, and the Club World Cup becomes the premier competition of European.
I don't look at it
world
that way.
team.
I think it's because everyone has their own Champions Leagues, don't they? You got the Copa de Libertadores, you got the Asian Champions League, etc. So everyone has their own Champions Leagues. Those will still hold weight. Those will still be credible competitions to win. I think it can work. And I think in a few years we'll look back and say
I kind of think it can, and I think if Chelsea end up getting into the say quarter semis, I'll look to go. So I'm on board.
Also, you're looking at a man that sings "Once More Than England, World Champions Twice" on a regular basis.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. It'd be very interesting. It'd be very interesting to see how it pans out and what the ramifications will be on the Champions League.
Reece, do you think once it gets to the nitty gritty, the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, that will start to sit up and take notice?
I could see there being a bit more notice when it comes to the later matches, particularly when you get to the final, of course. But I just think in the short term, these next few years, maybe the first 10 years of this, maybe not 10 years, 20 years of this competition existing, I can just feel it being another Super Cup kind of feel where it's like, oh, that match is on, I'll go watch it, and that's kind of it. There's no real, it doesn't carry that prestigious moment the same way, the Champions League perhaps carries when you see a Champions League final.
Do you think, Reece, do you think a part of that is to do with the fact that from a European-centric football outlook, we don't really care about Al Ittihad against Chelsea? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is it because we don't look at some of these opponents and some of these clubs and think they're fashionable to play against?
It could be. It very well could be. It could be down to almost, I don't want to say a lack of respect, but perhaps there's not enough respect given to fixtures that are, taking place in South America, that are taking place in Asia, and so on and so forth. And I think that's actually been quite an interesting point in this Club World Cup, because we've seen a few of the South American teams succeed against teams you wouldn't have expected them to go out and play well against, or in some cases beat. So it's certainly quite interesting in that regard.
Reece, it's been a great call because you've effectively brought a conversation about the Club World Cup to the table, which I think is one that we wanted to have. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
Thank you very much for having me.
We look forward to speaking to you again soon.
He's a repeat caller, isn't it? He's been on.
Reece has been on before, absolutely, yeah.
Good caller,
absolutely.
I think the Club World Cup can work or will eventually work, but I do agree in the sense that they're probably doing it for the wrong reasons right now. And I'm looking at it from perspective of, I would love my club to be world champions. Also, we're quite broke, so it'd be a good competition for us to we got Anch up next, who's a Man United fan at last. Anch, are you there?
Yes, guys. Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly, mate. How are you doing and what do you want to speak about?
I'm doing good. How are you guys? I would like to talk about how Bruno Fernandez needs more respect, especially after I hear so many fans saying that he should have been sold to Saudi, even though he's the only player in our team consistently performing. And I get that we're going to get 100 million around for him, but who are we going to spend it on that can have a similar impact to Bruno Fernandes, who gets us at least 20 goal contributions each season only in the Premier League?
And you're completely correct. You're preaching to the choir here. I think it's wild when Manchester United fans have a pop at Bruno Fernandes. And I know Adam
I've never been the one to have a pop at Bruno. I've always respected him. But I do remember coming away from the game in Bilbao and thinking, just rip this whole thing up and start again. And
you're emotional.
I've calmed down now.
I know your feelings in that precise moment are worthy of discussion, but ultimately, you're emotional leaving a football stadium having watched your team lose the European final.
Yeah.
You're not exactly in the most rational.
Yeah. And I remember when he did decide to stay, I did have a sense of relief. I did have that sense of relief. But why do you think he deserves more respect? Because that was a big part of your call as well.
Because I still see fans comparing him to Odegaard and Madison, while like Odegaard has a great team around him, and he still can't reach the same level of impact and goals and assists as Bruno Fernandes. While Bruno Fernandes has to create chances for Rasmus Højlund,
Yeah.
while Odegaard can create chances for Saka.
And I don't think
Højlund
anybody, certainly anybody worthy of listening to, would actually think that Odegaard is a better player than Bruno Fernandes or Maddison is a better player than Bruno Fernandes. Have you seen that as quite a prevalent theory then? Do you feel like there are people about who see James Maddison as better than Bruno Fernandes?
It's more the Odegaard one than the Madison one.
But Odegaard, I suppose you could have maybe had the debate over the last 3 years. And obviously Arsenal trajectory, Odegaard was integral to that. And I suppose you could have a debate around that. Maddison you dismiss. But Odegaard's season last year, like he has a different season. Arsenal could potentially have won the European Cup. Imagine if Odegaard had scored that chance that he had in Newcastle. You know when they lost.
When he bottled it.
When he bottled it because he was scared of the challenge. If he'd had that moment, taken it and scored, Arsenal might have won the League Cup. And if he'd had a Roy Keane and Turin sort of performance in Paris, Arsenal might have won the European Cup. But he didn't.
Yeah. I think there's a big level between Odegaard and Bruno. I do think Odegaard's a fantastic player, though. And I do think he's kind of crying out for a striker in front of him. But then if we can make that excuse for Odegaard, imagine what Bruno would be doing if he had X, Y, Z in front of him. Do you know what I mean? And if he had the players in front of him that you need him to have. It is an interesting call. And I think most people do agree with you. Ange, how do you think he'll fit into the system next season? Where do you think we'll see him more often? Do you think he'll be one of those deep lying players in the midfield, like in the two, or do you think he'll be one of the 10s?
I think he'll be deep lying playmaker because he's also getting older, so his pace is starting to drop. And I think if we put someone next to him that can run physically, like Carlos Baleba from Brighton, I think Bruno could be very good in that role.
Cheers, man.
Thank you very much, Ange. Really good to talk to you again. Good caller.
Okay, thank you.
Great call, Ange.
Bye.
I've noticed now there's a theme. I think 2 or 3 callers have mentioned Baleba for their club just in this calling alone.
It's because he's a very good player, Premier League proven, and a selling club.
He's really good.
That position has become, I think maybe since, I don't know where you would say it first happened, Casemiro at Real Madrid, maybe Fernandinho. But you know when teams are now built around that position.
Yeah.
It's such a value.
You have to get it right, man.
You have to get it right.
It's so important to get that right.
Lots of Brazilians. You know the 2 examples I just used there? I wonder if there's something going on in Brazil. When I was a kid, Brazilians were like Ronaldinho, Flair and that. Now it's like Fernandinho, Casemiro.
Who was that guy last? Gilberto Silva.
Gilberto Silva.
Gilberto Silva and Kleberson.
Yeah. Is there something else going on?
I think Kleberson eating mushy peas with James Olcott the other day.
Was he?
Which is a mad thing I'd never thought I'd ever see in my life. We've got another call. Jack is on the line. Jack, talk to us.
Hey boys, how's it going?
Going great.
Good, mate. How are you?
Doing well. Just watched the Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
Oh, mate, I was up for that last night as well. That's why I'm a little bit tired today. I was gutted once Halliburton went off, it was the end of the game, really, wasn't it?
Yep, he was on fire too. He was about to, put his place in history. But I wanted to give you guys why I'm calling in today. And my take is that Phil Foden will never be the main man on a winning side. So he'll never be the franchise player for a winning side.
Never be the MVP.
Can I argue something before we even start this? It's already happened. He was players player.
Argued
He was the best player in the Premier League the year that City won the league.
Could you
Do
argue
you
that
think he was the
Rodri?
most? Yep.
He was.
Wouldn't you say he was maybe even the third most important player on that City team?
Potentially, but he was Premier League Player of the Year, wasn't he, in the year that they won the league?
When Rodri,
I
yeah.
mean, I agree, but those awards, I mean, I see some of the nominees and I see some of the awards, and I don't know who decides that stuff, but there's some, I don't want to say it's fishy, but I'm not sure I agree with a lot of that stuff.
Okay, why do you not see it then? Why do you not see it happening where it's non-negotiable that he is the main man?
When you have like your franchise player or the top players, you sort of expect them to dig you out of bad situations. Like for instance, this last year, you know, if he was a Salah, if he was a Hazard, if he was a Rooney, you would expect him to, you know, like, okay, boys, we're having a bad year. I'm gonna lead the team. I'm gonna go get us. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. If I need to get assists, I'll get assists. If I need to get goals, I'll get goals, and whatever it takes, I'm gonna lead the team, get us the points. He kind of didn't do that this year. You know, I know Rodri got injured, so it changes the team a lot, but I kind of expected him to do a little more.
I agree to it. Look, I think Phil Foden's a fantastic player on his day. We haven't seen enough of it in the last 12 months, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I do think that I kind of see the point you're coming from with this season. Kevin De Bruyne was clearly on his last legs, heading for the exit door at Manchester City. Gundogan's not the player he once was. Rodri gets injured. And like you mentioned, some great players there, and you mentioned the Rooneys and Salahs, etc. If Phil Foden is the guy people have been saying he is, I did feel like that was the time for him to step up and become the man of the team. And he didn't. And it was a missed opportunity for him. Whether that means he'll never be the main man in a winning side, I don't know, because I think he is a huge talent. Like, I'd love him at Manchester United, but I do think it was a missed opportunity. And we do constantly say to Buvey when he's here that we're being a very light on Phil Foden sometimes.
Yeah, I do. I also think that you are correct, Jack. To a degree, you are most certainly correct. What you want from your star man, what makes you the Hollywood player, what makes you the personality of the team, is that you shine when others don't. It's actually quite easy to be a good player when things are going well. It's actually quite easy to score goals when you're scoring 4 or 5 a week. It's actually quite easy to look good when everybody else around you is elevating their performances and playing well. You earn your money, and you are correct. You do shine, and you demonstrate your brilliance when things are going badly. Last minute winners, dragging your team to victory, scoring a goal to snatch a draw from the jaws of defeat, that kind of thing. That is what Phil Foden should have done last season, and I do agree with you. The flaw in your argument, though, is it would be argued by a lot of people that what you're suggesting will never happen has actually already happened.
Again, and that's who, if their opinion was they watched Man City and they thought that Phil Foden was the best player on that team, you know, hands up, fair enough. But from my perspective, if I was an opposing manager and I could like get rid of one of the players on City so I don't have to go up against them, I'd get rid of Rodri first, and then I'd probably get rid of Haaland so I don't have to play up against them. And then you can go into, I think the year he did really well, wasn't Julian Alvarez still there? He was a monster too, but I mean, Foden did have a better year than him. But I would argue that he was the third best player on that team.
Potentially true. Potentially true. Big season for him next year, I think. I think your perception.
Do you think he's going to be closer to what he did 2 years ago, or closer to what he kind of did this year?
Great question. I really don't know. Is a truthful answer. I really don't know, because his form last year was so poor, and his form for England was so poor last year that it feels like a long time ago that he had that dazzling season the year before. And so many times we've seen players just fail to ever rediscover the form that they've demonstrated.
He's signed Marmoush, signed Cherky.
Yeah, he might not be the
if
team.
these players start playing well and he's not, it's on the bench.
Yeah, that Cherky signing, if I was Foden, that'd light a fire in my bucks. That's kind of the same sort of thing you'd want out of Foden.
It's a great question. What do you think, Adam? Like, quick prediction. Does Phil Foden have a season like last year where he's fairly underwhelming, or a season like the year before where he's arguably the best player in the Premier League?
I think he'll be better than last season, but not as good as he was. So I think he'll just be. I think it's a problem on the horizon for him.
What do you think, sir?
I think he'll do okay. I think he always is just going to be a good player to have. Maybe your fourth or fifth most important player on your team. You know, he might get 12 league goals and 6 or 7 assists, and that's good. But
Mate, he'll be over the moon at those numbers. That's nearly 20 goals and assists, right? Oh, he would bite your hand off at that. There's a chance that he'll end up with half what you just said.
Yeah,
there's a chance he'll end up with.
And that's scary. And that's the conversation, right? The floor is what scares you.
Yeah, another great caller. Thank you very much for your time.
That's some great calls.
Can I do a quick shout out? I just want to shout out Santi Cazorla.
Real Oviedo.
Absolutely got his team promoted to La Liga. So one of fun players in the Prem.
No, he's great. He was a great player. I used to love that move that he would do, which is such an easy thing to do, but so effective. You know when you just shift the ball from one foot to the other and push it past the player. You just move the ball to your other foot and push it past the player, and off you go.
I love that.
So perfectly two-footed.
I got excited. I thought he was going to say like.
Shout out to his mate.
John and
who have
Phil
just got engaged in Hawaii. Santi Cazorla probably not going to hear that shout out. I mean, I hope he does, but he's very unlikely to hear that.
No,
I like Santi Cazorla more than my mates.
yeah, that's fair enough. Santi Cazorla does listen as well. So
great to talk to you, mate. Right, that concludes the calling part of the show. So thank you to everybody who's got involved. Remember, you can get involved. Just click the link in the Discord below. But now it's the people that didn't necessarily have the time or couldn't make it work for talking to us on the phone. And what they have done is just send in voice notes. You can also send in your voice notes. Let's react to some of the best of them that has arrived. And we're going to start with one that actually follows on from the call that we've just had regarding Phil Foden.
All right, lads. I'm Lucas, Liverpool fan. Just want to quickly say I'm a big fan of you guys' work. Listen and watch you all the time when I'm at work. So, yeah, appreciate all the work you do. My question is, if you had to rank these 3 players in their primes, even though they're all young, but from best to worst, Foden, Palmer, Saka, which order would you rank them in? In my opinion, it's Foden best, Saka second, Palmer third. Yeah, that could change over the years. Cheers.
Great. Thank you very much. I feel like I've got it completely the opposite way.
My problem here is he said at their peaks. Because based off last season, you go Palmer, Saka, Foden, right? Because Saka was injured for a big chunk.
Potentially 2 seasons you could go. If you're doing it over the last 2 seasons, you could argue Palmer top.
Palmer, Saka, Foden, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, over the past 2 seasons.
But then when you go, if you go at their peak, I suddenly go
it has to be Foden.
Palmer or Foden.
I think at their peak, Foden won a treble. It's very difficult to argue with. It's very difficult to argue with that at their peak. But in terms of just looking at them individually, not saying on their best day or anything like that, I think that it's.
Who would you rather have in your team? Right? Would you swap Palmer for Saka or Foden?
No, I wouldn't. I think what Palmer is going to become is, I think he is going to become a genuine superstar. I think he is set to become one of the best footballers in the world. I really do believe that is a trajectory that Cole Palmer is on. I rate Bukayo Saka so highly. Remember when he was out? Actually, I really did amplify quite how brilliant he is. Remember when he was out and they were desperately trying to rush him back for the games against Real Madrid and all of that, and it actually became so apparent so quickly that they had no chance of beating Real Madrid without him, and you probably thought they would have a good chance of beating them with him. You then look at what he was doing throughout the time that he came back off injury, bearing in mind that the front line at Arsenal isn't very good. It's so reliant on him. You've got Martinelli over the other side who's good but not great. I think Bukayo Saka with, imagine Saka on one wing and a really good wing, Rodrigo on the other wing. I just think he's immense, man.
No, he's a really consistent player.
And Phil Foden
his levels of consistency are above both of them players.
Saka is a guarantee every year. And being a consistent Premier League player is worth its weight in gold. He's just a guarantee. Next year, Saka scores 20 goals.
I just think there's things Foden and Palmer could do that Saka couldn't dream of.
They're more magical.
Yeah.
I agree with you that they're more magical.
But again, if right now, if you were saying, who do you want in your team? Who would Man United buy? I'd go Palmer, Saka, Foden. Although I do love Foden. I really do love Foden. I love Foden at Man United.
I think Saka
They'd all start for Man
Do,
United.
do you know another moment where I realised I was with Flav, and I was on a train with Flav going to the Euros. We were talking about how England sort ourselves out, like we weren't playing well. We were like, what's the answer for England? And do you know what we decided the answer was? Take England's right winger and put him at left back. And that would make the team better. I'm like, we never ever had a situation where somebody can be the best right winger in a team, but also the best left back in a team.
It's mental, isn't it?
Like I think Palmer is the most magical of the three. Saka is the most
consistent.
Like Saka's been world class now for about 4 years.
Really consistent.
What's your order?
He said based on primes, didn't he?
Based on primes changes everything though.
Foden, Palmer,
I don't see.
Saka, based
I
on
don't want to
primes.
put Foden top, but if you're going based on primes, Foden was player of the year. The year
Okay,
that Man
let's
City.
say they all play at their best level next season.
Everyone at their best, Palmer's the best.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone at their best, Palmer is the best. Everyone as they will be, Saka is the most consistent.
Like next season, it'll be Palmer and Saka who have better seasons than Foden.
But you know the crucial thing that he said. If you're saying at their peak, it's impossible to not say Phil Foden because Phil Foden has been the player of the year for the team that
That's
won
why
the
I'm
league.
saying don't use the calendar year or the use what he is, and let's say they all three of them are playing at their best levels next season.
I think Cole Palmer is the most magical.
I think you could be right.
I think Cole Palmer can do.
It's difficult, man. They're all great players.
They're all great players, and I rate them all incredibly high.
But at their peaks, I go.
Palmer, Saka, Foden.
At their
Unless
peaks,
their peak, you have to just go Foden. But it's a nonsense because he was
based
he's the
off
best
last
player
two
who won the
seasons,
league. The other two have never
you
won
go
the league.
Palmer, Saka, Foden.
Yeah. Okay. Right. From the best to the worst, should we now talk about underrated players? Let's listen to the voice note.
Hi boys, my name's Sam, Celtic fan.
Yeah.
I just want to know who your most underrated players in your club's history are, who you think it is, and your most overrated in your history. I can't think of the overrated right now because there's so many, but I'll throw some underrated at
Your
you for
question.
each one of you. Fernandinho at Man City, Ramirez at Chelsea,
that's what I was gonna say.
and Darren Fletcher at United, although I was inclined to say Park Ji-sung. Just let me know what you think. Cheers, boys. Love the channel.
Thank you, mate.
I was going to say
Also,
Ramirez.
he bottled it
He bottled it.
because he didn't say for Celtic.
Yeah.
He said like
He
said,
just done like
for our
worldwide.
club.
Yeah.
Like, he bottled his own question. He didn't say the Celtic one. Underrated player. I know he's the king and he is rated, but Henrik Larsson is criminally underrated. Like just in football generally.
I
As
think
for
Mark
Manchester
Hughes.
United,
I think Mark Hughes is majorly
tick
underrated.
the box for both of us, wouldn't it?
Mark Hughes. People don't talk about him as the best striker. You know, the best Premier League strikers.
Did it abroad.
Unbelievable footballer.
Yeah, it's great.
Unbelievable footballer.
I'd have to go for like players that I watched more of. I'd have to say Michael Carrick because I do like people forget like we lost Roy Keane. He comes in, he takes his number. Everyone's thinking he's not replacing Roy Keane. How's he going to replace Roy Keane? And he was just different. But he kind of helped us move into the more modern era of football, into a midfield three. Michael Carrick was without doubt probably the most underrated player Man United have had. But in terms of how they speak about themselves now, they have to go Giggs and Scholes. Gary Neville and Scholes.
Giggs.
And Giggs. Yeah.
Giggs just doesn't. I don't understand it. I just don't understand it.
But
Giggs
during
one
his
of the best
career, he
footballers.
was rated.
Giggs is one of the best footballers this British Isles has ever created. And for some reason, he doesn't get in people's 11s. It's mental. Won the league about 11 times or something.
Who's yours? So
I think Ramirez doesn't get anywhere near the plaudits that he deserves.
Always good goal.
Amazing goals, mate. You know the year that we won the Champions League. Think about the goal that he scored against Barcelona. We won the FA Cup that year. People forget the year that 2012. It was our best ever year. We won the Champions League, but we also won the FA Cup. We beat Liverpool in the final of the FA Cup. Ramirez scored in the FA Cup final. Like, he's an amazing footballer, and he once did something that was so brilliant, and I suggest that everybody looks it up immediately. I think we were playing away at Hull. He did a bicycle kick for absolutely no reason on the halfway line, just because he kind of like miscontrolled it with the first touch. So he bicycle kicked it all the way out wide. It looked like it was going to no one, and suddenly Branislav Ivanovic comes into the picture.
Yeah.
You know, I think Nicky Butt did one once for Newcastle, just like a random bicycle kick. I have a lot of time for that.
Yeah, I love Nicky Butt as well. Another underrated player. Overrated?
I mean, basically everyone now. Every centre forward now. Every single centre forward in the Premier League now, apart from Alexander Isak, who's class.
But for your club?
Do you know who I think we give a lot of love to that doesn't necessarily deserve it? It's not going to go down well here. But you know when people do the best... So I say Mark Hughes never gets spoken about in the greatest conversation. Do you know who always gets spoken about in the greatest conversation and just doesn't deserve to be there? Not because of who he was over his career, but because of who he was in the Premier League. Marcel Desailly. Mate, he was captain of a Chelsea team that didn't win away in the league until March. It's like we didn't win away in the league until March. He's captain.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going to get a load of stick for that.
I'm trying to think.
He's an iconic footballer. His Premier League career didn't go as people like to think it went.
Underrated Dennis Irwin, by the way, as well. Overrated. Based off how people talk about him now, Scott McTominay, man. The guy was shit for Man United. He does my head in. And everyone's, oh, he's great, bring him back. The guy's useless, man. Right then, Raw, that's it for today. Thank you very much to the OGs at home that not only have watched this show, but got their voice notes in, got their calls in. Remember, in our description, there's a link to the Discord. Join the Discord and you could get your voice notes or calls in to the show. Make sure you're keeping it locked to the club. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you soon.